I'm always looking for ways to show my cat how much I love her. And with Fancy Feast gems, I can pamper her whenever I want with a savory gravy on top of a gourmet mousse pâté. The pyramid shape makes serving simple, so all I have to do is peel and plate to make mealtime feel extra fancy. And with 2 entrees in every pack, it's easy to turn every day into the extraordinary. Fancy Feast gems.
No one should have to choose between their own safety and their pets. But nearly half of domestic abuse survivors delay leaving because they can't bring their pets with them. Purina is helping to create more pet-friendly domestic violence shelters through the Purple Leash Project, so survivors and their pets can escape and heal together. Visit Purina.com/purple to learn more.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. When your computer breaks, you don't wait for it to magically start working again. You fix the problem. So why wait to hire the people your company desperately needs? Use Indeed's sponsored jobs to hire top talent fast. And even better, you only pay for results. There's no need to wait. Speed up your hiring with a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
Welcome to Book Talk for Book Talk with Jack and Amy, a literary podcast where we deep dive into the writings of your favorite novels. This autumnish, we're hosting a book club while we prepare for our 10-part literary analysis of Sarah J. Maas's Heir of Fire. This is Jack.
And I'm Amy, and each week we'll discuss one book from our autumnish book club roster. By using our literary background, we'll provide our flash analysis of each book, as well as discuss listener thoughts.
This week, we're discussing Red Queen by Victoria Aveyard.
The views expressed by the hosts are entirely their own and in no way represent the thoughts or intentions of the original author. This podcast is a discussion shared to spark thought and conversation on the characters and themes of this novel. The interpretations presented in this podcast are just a few of many possibilities. Listeners are encouraged to read along and share their own analysis of the text.
Though the hosts speak mostly within the constraints of this book, series spoilers may be discussed with or without warning. Explicit language as well as themes of sex, violence, abuse, depression, self-harm, and death will recur throughout this podcast. Listener discretion is advised. If you're enjoying the podcast, please check out our Patreon for more exclusive content. You can find us at patreon.com/booktalkforbooktalk. So, Amy.
Yes.
We read The Red Queen, something that has been heavily requested, especially for obvious reasons regarding Powerless. So we got a lot to talk about today.
Yes, we do. For those of you who are not aware or don't recall, we did cover Powerless in our last book club, and we had some comments about how Powerless potentially riffed off of Red Queen. And so we didn't know anything about that. So we're here to now talk about the fact that we have read Red Queen. What are the comparisons?
But before that, hands up, tits moderately up. Obviously, a foundation block for the genre, but others build.
Okay. I see. Yeah, I get what you're saying. Okay. I'm going to be honest.
Yep.
I didn't care for the characters. I felt no empathy.
This is a hard one. I'm going to start off with the positive of this book. When was it published? We never get this done on time.
We never do it ahead of time.
No.
I'm looking it up right now.
Okay.
February 2015.
This book is a product completely of its time. We have a post-Hunger Games world, a pre-Romantasy world, Throne of Glass is out there. There's a lot of things happening, ACOTARs happening. You can tell that this book is a serious foundation for what's to come. And I feel this way when I see other things like other movies that are from the 80s. And you're kind of like, oh, that's a little cheesy. And you can kind of see where some of the tropes come from. And you can kind of see where that was Silence of the Lambs. Like some of the things that we now make fun of are, where they did it in earnestness. But then just like any foundation, things can be built upon. So you wouldn't have a lot of the books we have today if it wasn't for Red Queen. However, Red Queen totally adapted for things that were built upon that before her, like Hunger Games and stuff.
Yeah. So you're saying Red Queen built upon the foundation of other books that came before it, like Hunger Games.
Yeah. And then Red Queen was also the foundation for other books. It's just part of the evolution.
Right. Well, and I think of life and art and writing as, I forget what it's called. There's actually a phrase for it. I can't remember, but it's where basically as one person is being pulled up by someone else, they're pulling someone else up. And it's just this never-ending chain of people lifting each other up. And that's what art is saying, thank you for your great contribution. You've inspired me to do this thing and this other thing. And this is going to inspire someone else to do something else. And that's not stealing, which Jack wrote an excellent article about this. Is it plagiarism versus inspiration?
Where can they find that at?
The Subtext Society Journal.substack.com.
We'll hint to it during this episode because I think it's impossible to not have a powerless discussion. I don't want this whole episode to be about powerless. We'll probably have like a thing towards like that'll be one of the later parts of the conversation. But if you want to know more about what I think about it, then go check that article out. It is for free. Anyone can read it. For context, this wasn't a bad book. I want to preface that. I can understand why it was the kind of book that a lot of people at the time were absolutely riveted by, were absolutely, they're saying like, this is what helped them get into Romantasy. And I can 100% see that. It's unfortunate that we've read this at a time. By the time we're reading this for the first time, we are very well established in the genre. There's a lot of really amazing books out there that it makes it clear that there's just a lot of messy gaps that Red Queen has.
Right. And to its credit, it doesn't have a good necessarily model for what it should be, right? Given the time period. I'm trying to think about, there weren't a lot of mainstream fantasy romance books happening before February 2015, because that's the publication date, right? So we can assume the drafts were done in 2014. They were probably started in 2013. So there wasn't a lot to build upon except, and I don't know Victoria Aveyard's background other than the fact she went to USC. Maybe fan fiction. I don't know if she's a reader of fan fiction. I don't know if she's ever consumed fan fiction, but the closest you could get really to Romantasy in 2013 was fan fiction. And that's not necessarily, I loved fan fiction. I've read fan fiction for a long time. Publishing something on a weekly or monthly basis is not the same as a complete novel. And
do we know this was based off of any fan fiction, or are we just...
No. What I'm saying is that she didn't have a foundational book to base this upon necessarily in the genre. The closest she could get was fan fiction, and fan fiction was not something that was a complete novel that had a traditional story structure.
Yeah. I do feel bad because she did help create the genre. And when you're creating something, other people will run with it.
Right. And kudos to her for coming up with something that kind of pushed the boundaries of what we understood fantasy to be at the time. That being said, knowing that SJM published A Court of Thorns and Roses kind of in the same year, 2015, right? I think A Court of Thorns and Roses is a masterpiece, and I would not call Red Queen a masterpiece.
Someone in the comments, before we get to reading everyone's comments, someone described it as a dystopian book, and I had not even consider it as dystopian until they said that. And I was like, oh, I guess I can see that. And it really is a post-Hunger Games, like Divergent. Like you had so many books that were all sorts of like YA books, like dystopian YA novels. That was the genre at the time. And the fact that it was, I'm like, oh yeah, that kind of makes sense because it didn't fit particularly anywhere.
I completely agree. And we'll talk more about that when we get into world building. But I do feel like my first impression of this book was it doesn't know what it wants to be. And that's, I think, a product of the fact that she is experimenting at a time. She's taking what's popular, dystopian. It does feel very akin to dystopian, but also maybe she has a love for fantasy and she has a love for romance. And how can she bring all these interests together into one book? And I think it's a noble effort. I also don't think it really established itself as a concrete anything. And I don't say that with malice. I think she had a really hard task at hand, and maybe I would feel differently if I went on to read book 2 and 3. But I think for book 1, I forgot that there's...
Okay, here's some context. In order to, and I don't want to say this in order to get through this book, I didn't hate this book. This doesn't come from a way of like, when I say in order to get through something, sometimes like Amy and I are so deep into Autumnish Book Club. Like we were recording 2 episodes a week. Like we're trying to get ready for interviews that sometimes my brain needs a break. So this doesn't come from a place of like, in order for me to get through this because it was so bad. No, this came from a place of like, my brain needed a beat. I will Venmo you $100 right now if you can guess what genre I was reading.
$100 right now. If I can guess what genre you were reading, like to cleanse your palate so that you could get through this.
So in between, and I'm still listening to this book and I'm switching between, like I was switching between Red Queen to this other one. And I actually I'm liking this other one. So I'll probably finish it.
There are so many stakes on the line, aka $100.
Like I'll check it out on Venmo right now and hit send.
You know, I actually am having a hard time deciding. I'm going to guess. I know that my instinct is wrong, but I can't think of an alternative. So I'm going to go with some sort of monster romance.
I'm reading nonfiction, and it's about philosophy, mathematics, black holes, science, and aerospace.
Who are you and what did you do with Jack?
It's called The Short History of Nearly Everything by Bill Bryson. And it starts off with like, you know, where the universe started, what kind of particles and, you know, matter had to create, and then going into like dinosaurs and how do they get into aging, you know, determining aging of everything. And then there was like a really nice chapter about like physics.
No. I think hell froze over.
I know.
I think Armageddon is coming.
So, but the fact that that's the book that I was kind of like, I need my brain to cleanse. I don't want to say it's telling, but it is something where I just really needed to like stop and cleanse a little bit more with this book. And I don't know if it's because it's the end of book club and we're trying to get through this, you know what I mean? But there were a number of points where it just didn't make sense for me. Now let's talk about our heroine. I don't even remember her name. Mare. There it is.
Well, she goes by a couple different names, right? But Mare is her name, which I'm sorry. The first thing I thought was breeding mare. And that's because we've read so many Sarah J. Maas books where the phrase breeding mare is used.
I thought of Grey's Anatomy, which was really popular at the time.
Oh,
Mare
that makes sense.
And she went by Mare.
That makes sense. That makes way more sense.
Or worse. It can be whichever.
Yeah. Okay, Mare. I liked the family dynamics that Mare had. Even though we didn't get to see a lot of the family, I loved the sentimental touches of like the earrings that she wears that each represent her brothers. So for me, Katniss is not endearing, but I am able to empathize with her. Mare is not endearing, and I'm not able to empathize with her.
The best way I can describe it is that Mare's personality is given to her by the external things happening in her life. And what I mean by that is like, I don't even know if it's like her personality, but like you're talking about her family. You like the family dynamics. You don't like her. The rings, that's given to her. She didn't sit there and say, I asked my brothers to give me their rings so that I can think about them. Earrings, yeah. That doesn't give her a personality, that drive, right? Everything about what made Mare were external forces that, you know, like that kind of culminated to this character. And I could not tell you anything about her. Like, you know, Katniss, like, you know, to compare, you know her personality. She is still a girl at heart. She is just trying to survive. She's kind of bitter. But like Mare, by the end of it, at first I was kind of like, I'm like, oh, this, like her decision doesn't make sense. And I'm like, does anything make sense with her? Because I can't like pinpoint anything distinct about her other than these things that are happening to her.
I agree. I completely agree. Like at first, my thought was, okay, everything hinges on her desire to keep herself and Killorn safe from conscription. And there's a point where she thinks about having babies with him, and that fades real fast. And there's nothing that she really holds on to that is her own, that is herself. And I think, I don't know if it's intentional or not. I don't know if it's intentional that Mare is kind of a blank slate so that the reader projects herself or himself onto Mare, kind of like with Bella Swan in Twilight.
Yeah, which is very popular during the whole romance genre.
Right. However, even Bella had more personality.
We knew she was actually quite funny.
And clumsy, and
there was enough distance. That's the other thing, is like there's enough distance from that type of writing and genre and characters that you can make something distinct. Like that's why I think Aelin and Throne of Glass was so, not revolutionary, but something that like people really resonated with, because you came from a time where, even though Bella was funny, she still has that nondescript looks about her. Even with Hunger Games, Hunger Game was just like, fantastic. But, here you come with Aelin, who is like, I'm going to give you exactly what she looks like. I'm going to give you everything about, and her personality is so distinct. There is like, she's its own person. There's no putting yourself into her. I can't even tell you what hair color Mare is. I'm guessing brunette.
Oh, you know what it is? I only remember because of Powerless, honestly. It's brown, but the ends are faded to gray because living in the stilts sucks the life out of you.
Oh, is that the same in Powerless too?
Powerless, she has silver hair.
Oh, yeah, you're right. It's funny. We're going to go back into inspiration, but it's one of those things where it's like, we're giving shit for Powerless. What about Rebecca Yarros with the lightning girl who has silver hair at the ends, tips,
Yeah.
We'll come back to the whole inspiration versus everything else. But yeah, like I cannot tell you, I know her blood is red. We talk so much more in the book about her blood being red than anything else that made her. What hobbies does she pickpockets?
Yeah.
That's not a personality trait.
No. And again, to your point from earlier, it's all out of necessity. She complains that she doesn't have a trade, that she doesn't have any skills because she's relied on pickpocketing to help her family. And nobody's that one-dimensional.
Like, she's not particularly smart. She doesn't do well in school. She's kind of clumsy. She can't dance, but at the same time, she's quiet. I hate every single time when it's like a character who's very nimble on their feet, but they can't dance. It bugs me. Like, I know being nimble on your feet does not equal rhythm, and you can't necessarily, count on the two, but
you should be able to anticipate things.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't even get, and we'll get more into the romance, but like, I didn't even get that she liked anyone. Like, there was just the only person I could tell she liked in this entire book was Julian.
Yeah. I think you're right.
That's the only one that I felt like she had any particular emotions or connection to.
Yeah. I think there was a lot of lip service to thinking she liked Killorn or Cam or Maven, but none of it felt authentic the way it felt with Julian.
Yeah, that was the only real dynamic I felt. But I think that comes more from just not feeling any kind of authenticness from her. Like, why give me a big family for it to not really be much of a thing? Why give me this huge connection? I mean, like she would sometimes reference her family, but it's not like she made big choices because of it, right? She made the choice of like joining the rebels, but it's not like she made these daily choices of, I'm going to trust Julian because of, he reminds me of my father, or Cal and Maven, they're brothers, and having that absolute faith that, well, no, family would never do that to each other, and having that being such a foundational part of who she is, right? Or this idea that she's always had to steal for her entire life. So why does she suddenly feel very secure in her surroundings, not thinking it's going to be taken away any second?
Absolutely. I think that is such a great point. I think the ending and her sense of betrayal would have been so much stronger if she had really relied on Cam and Maven and their brotherly relationship and likened it to her family experience. There's none of that. It's very her-centric without her being substantial, which I think was what made it very, I'm going to be honest, at a certain point, I just started reading another book. And it's no knock on anyone who enjoys this book. It's no knock on, the author. It was just, I just didn't care. And I think that it's just small things like what you're describing, Jack, that I think would have made a huge difference for me. Other than the one time Cam takes Mare to her family early on in the book after her brothers have been discharged, she never really thinks about them again except to be sad about Shade, the brother who has died. And that's it. Shade is the only constant presence, and he's dead. She does nothing to really try to find ways to make it back to her family or to check on them or anything after that one time.
Yeah, she checks out. There's so much about that family relationship that just also wasn't flushed through. Like, her sister's hand was destroyed. Her sister has a crush on Mare's childhood friend who clearly has a crush on Mare. And her sister was like risked everything to help him and then got her hand crushed, but blames her sister. And now that she's not forgiving her. And we are just never going to talk about that again. Even when she goes and visits, she makes a comment of like her sister's not really willing to leave her bedroom or like leave her loft to go see her. It's like, your sister was gone. Mare's been gone for 3 fucking weeks. It doesn't matter how mad you are. You're not jumping down to greet her to go say hi.
Yeah. Yeah. You would think that would bother her. You'd think she would think more about that. You'd think she would try to get in contact with her sister to reconcile things, make sure she granted, she, made sure her family got an allowance from the royal family. However, your sister's apprenticeship, her ability to perform is completely destroyed. Don't you think that's a loss of identity? Wouldn't that be concerning? Wouldn't you want to make sure that she has a good healer, that she can maybe start sewing again or do some other thing that is of interest to her? Like,
why is it that the second she discovered who blood healers and the whole healers at the castle, and she doesn't immediately say, go to my sister, I need help? What the fuck? Or how about the fact that Mare's so ready to die at the very end and to risk everything? Do you think your family's not going to be at risk with that? Do you think that you putting yourself at risk and getting captured ends with you? They're not going to go and, let's say hypothetically, they don't even kill them, but the allowance is gone. Realistically, she's going to go and kill them. It was a thing that was given to her by the author, Victoria. She gave her a family. That's supposed to be your personality, but there's no follow through on that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's what makes it hard for me personally to be empathetic with Mare, because without that follow through, she just comes across as selfish, and not for any reason other than I think the author forgot to write about this.
Yeah. I mean, I think her coming off selfish is being generous, to be honest. Like, her being selfish would give her a personality. Her being selfish would make her dynamic. Considering that she's being selfish is giving more leeway than the book has actually given. And it's a good solve, but, to be selfish requires someone wanting something, and it just was everything. Yeah, Mare in general was a very difficult character to be in her head, to be on board, to make sense with everything. Just the plot alone is so kitschy, but I'm not faulting it because, again, this was like the beginning of the tropes. Tropes were made from not this book alone, but it's the beginning. But the idea of servant girl gets thrown accidentally into a competition that turns out she's got magical powers and now she's a princess and engaged. This is like the kind of shit where it came from, in a good way.
Yeah,
that's the good shit. It's unfortunate that this comes towards the end of book club, where we've had a lot of really good books this book club that have been so well thought out and executed, and others that we feel like haven't been as much. But it's a two-parter, right? It's a shame that this is one of the original books of the genre, and it's older / we've had a lot of other good ones in the meantime.
Yeah. There was a lot working against our review of this as we were reading. Analysis.
Nicer than review.
Well, let's also take a moment. Let's step away from Mare and talk about world building. I still will equate it back to Mare because we're dealing with a chosen one sort of trope. Not a chosen one, but more that, oh, this normal girl all of a sudden has the ultimate powers that beats everybody else's powers and can do really cool things that are really convenient, which that's not a slam towards Victoria. This is a slam towards the trope, which is pervasive throughout storytelling.
Yeah. Harry Potter. Like, come on.
Yeah.
King Arthur.
Yeah, exactly. So the world building was interesting because there are times where I couldn't tell if it was medieval with magic or futuristic with technology or trying to be both and never being clear on that. Some of the powers for the individuals felt convenient when it was necessary to have something, but couldn't be technology. And technology felt convenient. It really threw me off when there started to be televisions.
I know.
And cameras. And I was like, I can't reconcile that with the nature of the magic here.
Yeah. If you have that type of magic, you don't need to progress a society. That's the thing, right? Is that magic, it's a convenience factor. Progression comes from this one thing isn't convenient. I need now another thing to make this make sense, to make it more convenient. And that's not necessarily done when everyone can do things, but now they're coming up with solutions for those who can't. And the only way you would do that is if you're doing it for the Reds who don't have magic. So then what are we?
What's the point? Yeah, that is such a good point, because if a magic user equates themselves to a god, which I can guarantee, these magic users feel like they're the chosen ones, feel like they are elite gods compared to the ants that are the Reds. That kind of ego doesn't allow for discovery. And technology in that sense doesn't make sense unless it's being developed by the Reds.
And some of these things I needed to make sense. Like, how much is magic incorporated to genetics, right? How is it that, okay, this one house, they're all really good at metals. So everyone in this house has metals. Okay, well, that makes sense that they wouldn't be able to turn on the lights, create fire, because that's not something they're used to. So then they do need to progress, or they're collecting people who can. Maybe all their servants are things that they can't necessarily do. You know what I mean? And the first thing that you'd have to ask yourself is, the world has magic. What's the implications? What are the implications in society, in religion, in politics, in technology around it? And you go from there.
Well, and are they the only ones that have magic? Because they're in the middle of a war, and it was going to be ingenious for Cam to take his legion of magic wielders to the front lines.
Yeah, pretending like they're Reds.
Right, which implies that, does that mean ultimately that the other side doesn't have magic? Or that neither side is willing to use magic on the front lines? Like, I don't know.
I want to dive in a little bit more, because the war is a huge part of this this world building, because Cal won't help the Reds, because in his mind, what he's learned from his father is that if we lose the war, then they're going to come over and take over everything. And it just was like kind of a half-baked explanation to me, where I was like, okay, so your paranoia is that if you don't abuse the Reds, then you're going to lose the war, and then you're going to be enslaved. And that's why you're so desperate to use the Reds and not feel guilty about it.
And keep them enslaved.
Yeah. And okay, so then what is it about this other group of people that makes it so terrifying that you now need these non-magical humans to be such a vital part of the war? Then what kind of tactics are they using? Like, what's the threat of them? Like, if we've established that Reds are these pathetic, subhuman, they do nothing but grunt work, why are they vital then? What makes them so important to this war?
Yeah, I completely agree.
Grab a snack, stretch your legs, and listen to this while we plot our next move. Fall vibes mean loafer vibes, means I have cute outfits, which means I need to be comfortable in my shoes. And thank goodness for Vionic's Uptown Loafer.
I'm in love with Vionic's Winnie sneaker. It's perfect, it's timeless, and I am so comfy. I wear it to work, and everybody is commenting on my shoes.
Genuinely, we're so obsessed with Vionics that Amy and I also got the exact same Willa 2.0 shoes too.
Because we're those people.
We're those people who have to have matching comfy shoes that look good.
What I love about shopping Vionic online is that I don't know if I need a medium or wide, and their fit guide tells you how big the toe box is of every shoe.
Vionic began by revolutionizing medical orthotics. Today, they continue to use that science to engineer shoes that leave you feeling energized and confident.
They even offer a 30-day guarantee. Wear them, love them, or return them for a full refund within 30 days.
You have to understand, I am fully willing to sacrifice the comfort of my shoes if I look cute, and I do not have to do that here. I get to be cute and I get to be comfy. I have hacked life.
Especially for me, I have back pain. I need orthotics. This is a great solution in minimizing my back pain. Use code BOOKTALK at checkout for 15% off for your entire order at vionicshoes.com when you log into your account.
It's a one-time use only, and use code BOOKTALK at checkout for 15% off your entire order. That's BOOKTALK.
With the holidays coming up, it's really important that I eat healthy. Otherwise, it's a slippery slope downhill.
It's also important that I make time to eat healthy, and the problem is I don't have time for that. And thank goodness for Factor and their chef-prepped, dietitian-approved meals make it so easy to stay on track and enjoy something comforting and delicious no matter how hectic the season gets.
I had Factor meals for 4 months last year. I plan to do it again this year. They've got more meals. They've got more variety. I'm so excited for all the new choices.
It also supports your wellness goals. I'm on a GLP-1, and the fact that they have GLP-1 friendly meals and new Mediterranean diet options packed with protein and good for you fats, I can't tell you how hard it is for me to find motivation to actually make myself something.
90% of my diet is Asian food, and for the first time, they've got Asian-inspired meals with bold flavors from China and Thailand and India and so many other places.
From more choices to better nutrition, that's why 97% of customers say that Factor helped them live a healthier life. Feel the difference no matter your routine.
Eat smart at factormeals.com/booktalk50 off and use code booktalk50off, BOOKTALK 50OFF to get 50% off your first box plus free breakfast for a year.
That's code BOOKTALK50OFF at factormeals.com for 50% off your first box plus free breakfast for 1 year.
Get delicious, ready-to-eat meals delivered with Factor.
Offer only valid for new Factor customers with code and qualifying auto-renewing subscription purchase. AG1 Next Gen is a daily health drink clinically shown to support gut health and fill in common nutrient gaps.
What I love about AG1 is the live probiotics that are in the drink in addition to the 75 plus minerals and vitamins. I've tried the probiotic pills and it just doesn't work for me.
You are a probiotic girl.
I try so hard.
My favorite part about AG1 Next Gen is the fact that they have multiple gold standard clinical trials. In an industry where not everyone invests heavily on research, AG1 Next Gen goes to great lengths to continually invest in rigorous peer-reviewed clinical trials.
Not only does AG1 support gut health, it also boosts energy, provides daily nutrients, and supports your immune system. Head to drinkag1.com/booktalk to get a free welcome kit, including a bottle of vitamin D and free AG1 travel packs when you first subscribe.
That's drinkag1.com/booktalk. BOOKTALK. One of the things I really wish is that as a kid, I was taught healthy money habits. And luckily with Acorns Early, you can teach your kids those healthy habits.
Acorns Early is the smart debit card and money app that grows kids' money skills as they grow up. Start with the in-chore apps tracker and teach your kids the value of $1. Also, the satisfaction of crossing off a chore.
Then you let your kids start their own savings goals, the amount of toys I would have bought myself as a child if I had this.
Kids can spend what they've earned with their own customizable debit card, giving them that extra sense of independence.
I think giving kids that level of independence is so important.
I completely agree. Because if they don't learn it now, they're going to have to learn it with higher stakes later in life, which my parents didn't do with me. Plus, with Acorns Early's spending limits and real-time spend notifications, parents always stay in control.
This is honestly one of the most genius apps, and I can't wait to be able to use it with my kids.
I wish I had kids just so I could use this.
You're going to make sure my kids are going to use this.
That's right. Ready to teach your kids the smart way to earn, save, and spend?
Get your first month on us when you head to acornsearly.com/booktalk or download the Acorns Early app.
That's 1 month free when you sign up at acornsearly.com/booktalk. BOOKTALK.
Acorns Early Card is issued by Community Federal Savings Bank. Member FDIC. Pursuant to license by MasterCard International. Free trial for new subscribers only. Subscription fee starting from $5 per month unless canceled. Terms apply at acornsearly.com/earlyterms.
Let's talk about Cal.
He was almost a character.
Yeah, I wanted to like Cal, but he also suffered from not knowing what he wanted to be. Again, I liked the brotherliness between him and Maven. Honestly, I think the most developed character
Was Maven.
or his mom.
Yeah, actually, I think so.
Maybe Julian.
Maven, Julian, and Maven's mom were all pretty thought out. You have their reasons. Maven played his role perfectly. You're able to look back and say, okay, well, what part of it was true? What part of it's not true? Although personally, I feel like it went a little too Machiavellian in the end of maniacal laughter. There were these moments of doubt, maybe he's struggling, and then it was completely ignored. And I think that's rather than finding a way of doing a good balance, you can't have two very intense different emotions and attitudes and expect it to be well, that's just him suffering, not being able to make up his mind. I'm well, there's better ways of showing that.
Yeah, I agree. I knew early on where it was going to go. I figured out early on that Maven was going to betray her. I did want him to struggle more with it. To your point, I think that would have been a more meaningful journey. And instead, you're right. She assumes he's struggling, but he just comes across as a douchebag.
We could have just had his mom at one point say something along the lines of I want to hurry up and kill her. Being romantic to her wasn't part of the plan. You know what I mean? Something about her saying, we need to get rid of you faster. Kissing you was never part of it or something like that. Just a little clue to show that Maven wasn't entirely purely evil, because then it is just twisting the mustache, mwahaha, I'm evil. And fine if you're gonna do that, but I mean you're kind of already doing that with the queen.
Yeah, exactly. And she's very transparent in that way. But Cal.
yeah, Cal, back to him.
Yeah, another one that I didn't know what he wanted. I didn't believe his attachment to Mare. I didn't know why he cared about Mare.
I don't know what he cared about anything.
Yeah.
I know he wanted to be a soldier and he wanted to go to war, but kind of in the sense that okay, that's an interest, but I don't really see how aggressive he's trying to get there.
I also didn't understand why he felt beholden to his father. He wants to be a good king. Okay, but your father's obviously not a good king, so why don't you resent him? But why do you actually try to be everything he wants you to be? Because that's not being a good king.
His mom died before he can even remember. His dad refuses to talk about him. He's close to his uncle. That's not enough reason to try to fulfill everything his dad wants to do. Just because you're the firstborn doesn't automatically make you eager for approval or attention. But he is eager for his dad's approval. Why is that? Does his dad become obsessed with him after his mom dies? And he's you are her son and I need to keep you and make you perfect. What is it that we're doing here?
Yeah. And it's not like his dad doesn't give him affection or attention, because he does.
Yeah. He praises him. He's never critiqued. He's never criticized by his dad. That's another one. You want to show me a moment of I'm thinking about Powerless, and I'm trying not to like
I
reference Powerless
know,
right
I
now.
know. I'm trying so hard to not talk about Powerless.
We'll get to Powerless, but all you need to do is add a few moments of someone who's heavily criticized in the middle of affection. Isn't that showing you a portion of trauma? You know, someone saying, "Oh, you're so, you're so handsome, Cal. You're such a good son. You're so brave. You could have performed better during training today."
Yeah,
You know?
yeah. Like you continue to show too much empathy when you go in for the kill or whatever. You need to be more ruthless.
There's things that could have showed that, but that's us assuming that that's the reason why he wants his dad approval.
Right.
You know?
Right.
That's just us guessing. I don't know why. I mean, he likes to do mechanical things. He built a motorcycle.
Which, okay.
I know. It was
Again, convenient
and immediately forgotten. I mean, we kind of get it again at the end that when they're being taken in the epilogue, he's just like, "Ooh, I like what we're writing on." You know what I mean? Like that's another moment. Why is he even going to, what is it called? The stacks, the slums, the stilts. Like, why is he going to the stilts? And he says, "Because I need to be a king to all." Okay, then why do you have zero empathy? Are you a sociopath?
Right. Why do you not struggle with what's happening to the Reds?
Yeah. Or like, what if he goes into town and he's like became friends with the local mechanic? You know, make it more complicated.
Yeah. Maybe the mechanic is the one who was coming up with this, but he didn't have the materials, and so Kel helped him. And
that's why he comes into town and like, his alternate lifestyle over there. It was one of those things where it just like his existence in the book happened so quickly. And then next thing I know, she was like, "Cal got me." Like, and then I saw Cal. I was like, "Who the fuck is Cal?" I think that's because her friend also has a K name or a K name.
Killorn,
that I just immediately grouped them as the same person.
Yeah, that's fair.
I think because their interaction was so brief, it was, "You're trying to pickpocket me. I'm going to recruit you to get a job, little hottie lightning girl." Even though I don't know you're full of lightning, but just because you're hot, I'm guessing. Yeah, her getting to the castle is trying not to think about Powerless, about making things make sense.
I don't know. I don't know if I can say this. I'm going to say it and then we'll decide.
Mm-hmm.
This is the thing I fear with my own writing, is that I string my characters along with my ideas rather than the characters stringing me along by their motivations.
I think that's a great thing to say and keep in here, because that is a valid fear. There's so many times where authors talk about their writing and then the characters are like, "I didn't know that was going to happen." And the characters go with it. Why is it that Cal, who doesn't care about Reds, who, despite having spent time, is fine having them die at the war front, what is she just so pretty that like he can't ignore it? What is it that makes her get to the castle? You know what? Fuck it. I'm comparing it to Powerless. She was dragged in there up front because she was nominated, essentially, right? Like they saw her perform, or not perform, but
she was like the one person that the people in the slums voted to have participate in the competition.
And they voted for her because of, she was trying to stop that one guy from killing the prince guy. And that made sense. It's like, okay, here is this inciting incident of, hey, she saved this guy. There was a big battle. People were so impressed with her, they voted her in. And then it's like, well, shit, now I'm having to go. Versus, hey, hottie, want a job?
Yeah.
Want a job in there?
I'll help you avoid conscription. Come work at my palace for me.
Yeah.
I think it would have worked but only if we established Cal as not just a frequenter of the stilts, but helping a lot of people out to avoid conscription. But then he would also need to struggle with Reds being on the front lines and being defenseless, which he doesn't. And so there was no follow through.
Bake out his personality, give him let's go back to this mechanic that we've invented. This guy. Like it could have been this, here's this Cal guy who's visiting and he could have done his little fake little accent. And, he comes every once in a while, and he's kind of like a figure that you see in the background, but then again, that, like you said, it starts to make consequences of like, okay, well then is he just that much of a sociopath that he's interacting with these people and is like, thank you for your service, now go die.
Right.
Right. I wish Cal made sense. Let's talk. His attraction to her was non-existent for me.
Yeah. I mean,
the love dynamics between any of them were non-existent to me.
I understand Mare and Killorn in the sense that they've just kind of grown up together. And maybe Killorn is possessive because they've grown up together and they always thought or assumed they would be endgame to each other. Cal, I don't understand why he's into her because I don't know what she looks like.
I know.
She doesn't have something like, sorry to compare it to Powerless, but I'm not sorry. Kai was infatuated with Peyton because Peyton was so strong and smart and beat him at his own game in a lot of ways. Mare fails to pickpocket Cal.
Yeah. I mean, again, going back to Peyton and Kai, she tries to pickpocket him, gets caught, and then she goes and saves him, and he's just like enamored, but he's not bringing her. She suddenly shows up in his world.
She does pickpocket him and he doesn't notice.
Oh, right. You're right. Well, yeah, at one point he does.
Not until he's walking away.
Yes. She's successful. She's more clever. I forgot. You have a better memory. That's the other thing where it's like she does pickpocket him, and it's not just a one-time interaction, right? Like she leaves an impression on him for very two distinct reasons. She one-ups him and she saves him. I can understand someone and even through all that, he doesn't summon her to the palace.
Yep, exactly.
She suddenly just appears at the palace and he's like, oh, damn it, this woman that I was kind of into. Then that starts to make sense. It's Killorn. Okay, I want to talk a little bit about Killorn before we just descend into the powerless chaos, because I think it's inevitable. That one was a moment where I just was like, so everyone's in love with Mare. I mean, I love how I'm talking about Killorn and then I kind of want to switch a different point of view. There was like one part where Mare wants to flirt with the guard, and she said something about like everyone knew, or Killorn said that all I had to do was charm someone on the block and then I could get whatever I want. And I'm just like, where the hell did that come from?
Yeah, I agree. We haven't seen you be charming at all.
Or try to flirt. That was the most out of pocket. I have this skill and I can charm men, and suddenly I'm confident in that. So then she has that moment, and then Killorn's in love with her, and then Cal, and then Maven, and I'm just like, is everyone just going to be obsessed with her? And that's like very much a product of the time, where I'm like, okay, so everyone just loves her then.
Right, and it's different in that it's not a love triangle, it's a love square now, right? So are you going to be Team Killorn or Team Cal or Team Maven?
Is Team Killorn even a real thing? You know? Like, it's like, make it, if you're going to do something, make it something. Because there wasn't even enough tension with the romantic aspect. How did Cal or Maven not ask her one time saying, hey, has anything happened between you and him?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
What is that? You know what I mean? Like, how is that not once? I liked Killorn's anger. I think he was like a more developed character out of everyone. I liked his frustration. I liked his drive.
I mean, his motivation to join the Scarlet Guard made sense, and his defiance towards Mare made sense. But didn't we just talk about a book that was a reverse harem?
Yeah, Blood of Hercules.
Blood of Hercules, that's right. So this is also a reverse harem, but I didn't care. I wasn't on anybody's team.
I did not feel an inch of angst. You have 3 men, and there was not a minute of that. And again, another very unfortunate thing working against us reading this book at this time is that I am neck deep into season 3 of The Summer I Turned Pretty, the ultimate love triangle between brothers. Like, unfortunately, she's killing it. Jenny Han, love you forever. However, so it's kind of hard to like come to this, and I'm like, this is my love triangle. This is what I'm getting. I didn't even everything towards the end, the romantic stuff was so rushed. Everything, like the last part felt like it was written at a different time. Like if you had told me she came back and wrote the ending of this book 3 months later, I would have believed it.
Yeah, I completely agree. And to that point, there was this real, to me, disconnect between her emotions for Maven at the end, right before the betrayal, compared to her pining kind of for Cal throughout the rest of the book. And I didn't understand. I mean, I did, but I didn't understand how she doesn't struggle more with her feelings for Cal. It's just like, for her, it was like, oh, well, he just wants to keep fighting and the Reds are going to keep dying because of him. So I'm just going to put all my energy into Maven, which didn't work for me. It's not that it's unrealistic. It just didn't work for me.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? Is that that's actually, I think, could be a completely realistic thing where her feelings are hurt. She wants someone who's interested in her, this handsome prince that she's already engaged to.
Right.
Yeah, I think like there is a certain amount of like default, okay, I guess I'll be with you now. Then she just sticks it out because she's stubborn and wants to prove a point. All of this could be interesting.
Yeah.
All of this has potential. None of it had follow through for me.
Yep, I agree.
Should we read some comments and then compare Powerless, or go into Powerless and then compare comments?
Let's read some comments first, but take a sip.
Let's read likes. Loved this book, but it took me 4 attempts to get into it. Very vicious and violent off the bat. Oh, right. I forgot. It starts off with like, we're going to go watch people tear everyone themselves apart in an arena.
Mm-hmm.
I love the twist. Made me throw my book when I was 14. Yeah, I think a teenager, like had I read this as a teen, it would have been an absolute like, what? He's evil?
Yeah. The post-apocalyptic world, at the time, it was a very new and creative magic system.
The magic system, yeah.
Yeah, I could see how this would be new at the time that this was written. Just because it's hard to do new things nowadays, but we see it, right? We see it with Rachel Gillig. We see it with In One Dark Window with the cards and the magic, right? There are ways to come up with new magic systems. Despite things being new, if there's no follow through, what's the point? It just feels like wasted potential.
I mean, it's a culmination of a lot of things that weren't original that she did that she made it her own original version. And I talk about that in my article that people should go check out. This is just a combination of a lot of different things. She's not the first person to come up with a magic system where people have different types of skills, right? She's not the first person to have a competition and someone ends up being queen. But all of it put together, it's a fun, original thing.
Right. And that's a lot of stories, right? A lot of stories we read.
It's all stories now. Yeah.
Right. Are just new combinations of things we've read before. And that's what makes them interesting. And that's why we go to them. And that's why bookstores now market by trope if they're smart.
One of my favorite points I make in my article is like, you only have 7 stories or 7 plots, and then here are all the tropes I can list off the top of my head. And with such a short list, you're going to get overlap. Like, I can't help you. You have tropes and you have 7 plots. Like, there's only so much that can be done.
Right, right. What's different is the way the story is told.
Yes. I mean, other people really like the magic system and character developments. There are a couple comments about like character developments, very complex and dynamic characters. You know what? You can have that. Go for it. If it speaks to other people, it speaks to other people. That's okay. Obviously, it's all okay.
Someone said one of the first books that made me audibly gasp when the twist happened.
Yep. Okay, a couple people put what they didn't like in this part, and I have to say, you guys, you know I'm always going to do likes and didn't likes.
You can just skip answering if you don't have an answer.
Well, you can say you didn't like it, but just, I have it organized.
Someone said they liked the brothers trope.
Oh, yeah. Yes. I love a brothers trope.
I do too. Will they, won't they, or will they be a throuple with the brothers?
Vampire Diaries, Summer I Turned Pretty, give me all the brother tropes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to go to some negatives. Queer representation was not for me in this series. Was there queer representation?
I don't think there was. Was there?
No.
I don't know.
Either A, there was 0 representation, which sucks, or B, there was someone queer. It was so subtle that we can't remember, and that sucks.
Yeah, I'm going to go with that because I genuinely can't remember. Someone says it was easy to get into, but halfway through the second book, it was hard to stay invested.
That makes me worried. I'm not going to continue the series. everything but the last book and novella. Okay. How many books are there?
I think there's 3.
Okay.
And then a novella.
Okay.
I could be wrong. There was a lot of telling and not showing through character actions, dialogue, etc., which we've talked a lot about.
The telling not showing was so rough. This is very YA when I want the story to get spicy, you know? The thing is, I felt more that way for Powerless than I did for this.
Yes. I wanted it so bad in Powerless.
I know.
Someone says it was very predictable and not enough detail in some areas. It reminded me of Hunger Games.
Yep. There's a lot of inspiration from Hunger Games in this one.
Yep. I had a hard time connecting with the characters and their relationships with each other. Sad face.
Yeah. Yep. It's a politics book, not a fantasy book.
But even then,
it's not like they didn't do a great job with the politics. I think this person, I can agree with what they're saying in the sense that like, this wasn't very fantasy. This wasn't very, I mean, okay.
it was more class. It was more class divide.
Yeah.
If it was politics, we would have gotten more about the external forces that they're warring against. But instead, what we have are class division and revolution.
Okay. This is a perfect segue. I think we've read enough that summarizes what we want, like the general vibe, but I think that's the perfect segue to this is a book that kind of touches on class division. But in my article, which if you guys want to check it out, I talk about that this doesn't have themes and that Powerless is like sets up the themes. Yes, there's love and everything, but the themes of the book of it being about power divide is entirely Peyton's personality in the sense of she's doing everything she can to show both brothers sympathy, to show them, both of them saying, no, this is wrong. Like her mission from the get-go is to say, like, I need to prove to them that this is, and give them every opportunity to show that this is like wrong. And both brothers epically fail. And the fact, like Cal fails, but it's one time. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like an ongoing sticking point conversation.
Right. And to your point, in Powerless, Peyton is so focused on getting back to her friend, getting back to the life she had, or, you know, making a difference by teaching these princes a lesson. But at the end of the day, she doesn't want to be there. And she's consistent with that the whole time. The other thing is the class divide is so allegorical and so meaningful in Powerless and throughout the series, whereas this is just felt like a setting.
Yeah.
There was also the fact with Peyton, she really struggled when she's like, wow, I did forget about my friend. I did forget. Like, I feel guilty. I feel like shit. And now this friend is dead because of me. Like, I feel like shit.
Yeah. Talk about, I mean, that's like another one of actions. The plot's not driving the characters are driving the plot, right? First off, I can't remember the author of Powerless.
Lauren Roberts.
Yeah, Lauren Roberts. Lauren got rid of the like fat at the beginning. Fat is a wrong term, but like kind of trimmed it where it was like, hey, family, parents, too much. We're getting rid of them. We're going to have her have one committed friend and that's it. Like there's just too many characters to stick through. I respect the hell out of that. But then
I do too.
Yeah. So then, of course, it makes sense that Peyton would feel anxious of like, I need to get my friend here. And then that has consequences, you know? So the layers and levels to that too, where it's Peyton and her choices were driving that book. I don't know how much the author, like, and when I'm able to say, I don't know how much the author had to do with it, it's because Peyton was driving that car.
Exactly.
Now, are there similarities? Yes. You know, I'd say I don't want to call a pickpocket who goes to the castle, who like falls for two, who kind of has a dynamic with two brothers. I don't even want to call that a like copying or anything because those are tropes. It's so whatever. The closest thing would be the magic system.
I agree. I see what you're saying. I could name the limited number of magic user options in Powerless where I felt like they were endless and always new ones appearing in Red Queen.
Ways, yeah.
And there were limitations in the way that there was no technology in Powerless. So there was a lot less convenience in Powerless than there is in Red Queen with the combination of endless magic options and technology.
Yeah, I mean, it was the like, hey, I'm going to make a choice, and it makes it harder, right? The moment you remove technology, you kind of make it a medieval setting. It makes it a lot more difficult. However, it's a choice. I know the world, we are in it, and by making things more difficult, you make the world more distinct sometimes.
Yeah.
One of my favorite things about Powerless is the lack of the love triangle, where at no given point do I ever feel like Peyton necessarily wants either brother. Like, she's attracted to one, but like she's so like, I have no future here. I don't know what the fuck you think we're doing. I'm out. Like, she was so busy trying to like leave and be out. And it was the older brother, which also made sense that the older brother who's supposed to be king, you're trying to protect. Why would you send him to the battlefront? Why are you doing that? Like, it just made more logistical sense too.
Yeah. I think there's a lot that I love about Powerless and the Powerless series, but I think what stands out to me most about it that is a huge difference in that maybe just Lauren executed it better was the pining. Like the deep emotional draw and chemistry between Kai and Peyton made that book and made that series. And have you read the whole thing yet?
No, but it's on, I mean, no, it's on
Oh
my
my
list.
god, you are missing out.
I know. I want, like, once we're done through every single interview we're trying to get through right now.
Yeah, we have so many. But like, and the second book is even more powerful in its emotions than Powerless was, and Powerless was already an emotional book. It did violence to my heart in the best way possible, where I felt nothing with Red Queen.
I remember loving the end of Powerless because normally when, the betrayal comes out and you're just like, oh my God, everyone's going to see that you betray them and I feel icky and gross. I felt that, but I was also like, good, you all deserve to be betrayed. She gave you all a chance,
Yeah.
I had so many complicated emotions and I was like very relieved because I normally am too busy feeling cringy of like, no, they're going to find out and my feelings are hurt and their feelings are going to be hurt. And I had that as well as like, good, let them all suffer. Once it all started going down, it lasted like a minute, kind of like when they got caught at the end. They didn't really get caught. Like there was nothing that really happened. It was they came home and they're just like, hey, guess who they're in cahoots with? Like there wasn't like the ending of Powerless had a much larger like, the rebels came and destroyed. And maybe that did happen in Red Queen and I don't remember it, which is unfortunate because I finished it yesterday. So I don't know. Like I have deleted this from my brain very quickly.
Yeah. But what this tried to do was show how complicated Cal's emotions are about Mare and the betrayal, but still wanting to provide her comfort. It didn't come across as believable and felt more like forcing two Barbie dolls together. Where with Powerless, I wanted Peyton to tell Kai the truth the whole time. I didn't want her to be with the rebels. Whereas with this, I was like, oh, whatever. And then you really see his struggle after she has killed his father. That's a difference. She killed his father, and he should kill her, and he purposefully tries and can't, right? And you're left with this pain of she's running away. They're not going to be together. They're not going to be able to resolve this. There's this huge misunderstanding. Whereas, in this situation, they're together. But Killorn's here now too.
Everything, if people want to compare Powerless to Red Queen, you do it in the broad strokes that you can compare to a lot of other books, sure. But the character, like you cannot tell me that the characters are anywhere near the same. I don't care about the pickpocketing. Again, those are broad strokes. The fact that you have Kai, who is just trying to, who's extremely abused by their dad, who has that complicated relationship, who's gone through torture his entire life. And then you have, I can't remember the older brother in that one, but then you kind of see him entering his villain era and why he enters his villain era and descends. Like that's so much more complicated than I've been a bad guy the whole time,
Yeah. If we're going to talk about copying, which it's not, again, inspiration, I would dare say that Fourth Wing takes more plot points from Red Queen than Powerless does.
I completely and utterly agree.
Because you have a girl with brown hair with gray ends who wields lightning, who's having a hard time controlling that lightning, who likes a guy she shouldn't like, whose brother is dead.
There's a whole area of brother's dead that comes back at the end.
Yes.
There's a whole concept of, there's a bunch more reds who actually have powers, which reminds me of like people having other powers. I'm not going to case people haven't read.
Yeah.
Fourth Wing.
Onyx Storm. Yeah.
Although we just spoiled the ending for the first Fourth Wing book, so whatever.
Oops.
Yeah, it's just like there's a lot of other plot points, and I know it must suck for Victoria because I know it sucks for her because she talks about it on her threads all the time, of that people come to her saying that she's stolen from other books, like saying that the whole lightning woman girl that has, faded hair, or the brothers, and that sucks, where she wrote things first and readers don't pay attention and they go back to her and they give her shit, and that's not okay.
That's not fair. No.
At the end of the day, Victoria wrote an interesting and good enough book that clearly inspired other authors, and that is a success. And it's the same way that to me Powerless inspires me, and it'll inspire someone else later, so can you call it plagiarism when they've grown upon it, when they expanded on it? So I highly recommend people join our Substack. There's more than just that article. There's a lot of really good articles. Ramie's written some amazing things. Go check that out. So yeah, that's our Red Queen analysis. May Victoria never hear this.
Because we encounter her in real life too often for her to listen to this.
Before, it was always kind of like oh yeah, there's Victoria again. And then we'd be like, should we say hi? Should we say something? Now it's going to be like, there's Victoria, hide.
God, I hope she doesn't remember who we are.
No, this is one of those where I'm like, you know what? I don't need to post social clips for this episode.
Nope, I would not promote this one.
There's a number of ones where I will promote it, but I don't post clips. That's gonna be this one. But the guys, you who listen, know. There was another guy who commented. We have 2 male listeners now.
What?
I know.
We have to have at least 3 because they're 3% of our listening population.
Maybe one day there'll be 4. Thank you for listening to this week's episode of Book Talk for Book Talk with Jack and Amy. We encourage you to rate and subscribe to our show on your preferred podcast listening platform. Stick around for a special episode this Thursday.
We would love to hear your thoughts based on today's conversation. If you would like to submit your take on any of the books we plan to discuss this autumnish, please be sure to follow us on Instagram, where we ask for listener submissions.
If you're enjoying the podcast, please visit our website, booktalkforbooktalk.com, to view our latest merch and learn about supporting the show through Patreon or Venmo. You can also follow us on TikTok, Instagram, or YouTube at the handle Book Talk for Book Talk. Bye. AG1 Next Gen is a daily health drink clinically shown to support gut health and fill in common nutrient gaps.
What I love about AG1 is the live probiotics that are in the drink, in addition to the 75 plus minerals and vitamins. I've tried the probiotic pills and it just doesn't work for me.
You are a probiotic girl.
I try so hard.
My favorite part about AG1 Next Gen is the fact that they have multiple gold standard clinical trials. In an industry where not everyone invests heavily on research, AG1 Next Gen goes to great lengths to continually invest in rigorous peer-reviewed clinical trials.
Not only does AG1 support gut health, it also boosts energy, provides daily nutrients, and supports your immune system. Head to drinkag1.com/booktalk to get a free welcome kit, including a bottle of vitamin D and free AG1 travel packs when you first subscribe.
That's drinkag1.com/booktalk. BOOKTALK. One of the things I really wish is that as a kid, I was taught healthy money habits. And luckily with Acorns Early, you can teach your kids those healthy habits.
Acorns Early is the smart debit card and money app that grows kids' money skills as they grow up. Start with the In-Chore Apps tracker and teach your kids the value of $1. Also, the satisfaction of crossing off a chore.
Then you let your kids start their own savings goals. The amount of toys I would have bought myself as a child if I had this.
Kids can spend what they've earned with their own customizable debit card, giving them that extra sense of independence.
I think giving kids that level of independence is so important.
I completely agree. Because if they don't learn it now, they're going to have to learn it with higher stakes later in life, which my parents didn't do with me. Plus, with Acorns Early's spending limits and real-time spend notifications, parents always stay in control.
This is honestly one of the most genius apps, and I can't wait to be able to use it with my kids.
I wish I had kids just so I could use this.
You're going to make sure my kids are going to use this.
That's right. Ready to teach your kids the smart way to earn, save, and spend?
Get your first month on us when you head to acornsearly.com/booktalk or download the Acorns Early app.
That's 1 month free when you sign up at acornsearly.com/booktalk. BOOKTALK.
Acorns Early Card is issued by Community Federal Savings Bank. Member FDIC. Pursuant to license by MasterCard International. Free trial for new subscribers only. Subscription fee starting from $5 per month unless canceled. Terms apply at acornsearly.com/early terms.